Next, we're going champs or chumps. All right. Is UCLA an elitist program? Because all we do is put up championship banners in Pauley Pavilion of men's basketball.
Yes, they are elitist.
We're going to talk about this next on Locked On UCLA. What do we put up in Pauley Pavilion? All that and more on Locked On UCLA. All right, a fun segment I've been waiting to discuss with Chris. I don't know if you've been rage baiting people on social media. I don't know what but you not rage. He's been thrown out of discussion.
Serious.
It's a real discussion. What is it going to take for us as a UCLA fan base are we going to recognize the teams like Ben Howland's Final Four team? Is Mick Cronin's Final Four appearance real, or do we not care because he didn't win a championship in miraculous fashion in 2021? And the real debate of the question is UCLA elitist because they only care about champions and players of the year without adding in the Don McClains, without adding in all those good players that didn't win championships but maybe got deep in the tournament? Give me your thoughts, Chris.
Well, as someone that has grown up in the UCLA community and UCLA basketball for 50 years, I'll be 50 this year. So I've been around it my whole life. I was born the year we won the 10th championship. This level of excellence thing at UCLA is legit. There has been some of the greatest humans, basketball players, men, women that we've ever seen in the game, right? Teams, some of the best teams you've ever seen in college basketball history. My thing with the banner situation, I just hate that we discount outside of the Wooden Dynasty, right? 10 championships and 95, that's 11 championships. You have how many seasons of UCLA basketball? I forgot the number, but it's like 60 something other seasons to where that's viewed as an abject failure because you didn't win a championship. Because you didn't win a national championship, you don't deserve to be recognized, or you don't deserve some type of official recognition. And I'm not saying the teams that didn't do well. I'm talking about the teams that almost did. The 1980 finalists, right? With Rocket Rod Foster at point guard. Larry Brown was the head coach. Michael Holton. Kiki Vandeweghe was on the team. They made it to the championship game. They should have won the doggone championship. I believe we lost to Louisville. But like that banner should be up. We should recognize that team. We recognize the 1985 NIT champion. Okay? That banner is up in Pauley Pavilion. I think it still is up. But the NIT championship banner, for as long as I can remember, was up in Pauley Pavilion. We don't recognize Ben Howland's Final Four teams for some strange reason. Now, they're recognized in other parts of the UCLA campus. The Mo Austin Center, you got the banners, you got the Final Four recognition of all. But my thing is always, it goes back to this. If we're going to we're considered a blue blood, one of the original blue bloods. I have a whole thing about blue bloods and what it actually means versus what the new generation has kind of turned it into the meaning of a blue blood. Like nowadays, the blue blood is, oh, we won championship, we got natties, so we're a blue blood. Well, blue blood in its original form, you got to trace it back to James Naismith, and then like the disciples of Naismith and how they scattered across all over the United States and sort of, stuck their stakes in the ground in different regions. The Midwest, there's a guy there started, Indiana basketball, and the East Coast and the West Coast. And so when you're considered a blue blood, you got to operate like other blue bloods. I mean, is that fair, Zach? I know it's this concept of like, oh, we shouldn't care what other people do. Well, yes, we should. It's a whole new ball game. It's never been like this.
If you want to be elite, you got to be.
You got to be. So that means you got to recognize your 21st century success. Like, come on. We walk into Pauley Pavilion and the banners we see are 19 something. I love my 95 championship banner, but it kills me that we don't see nothing in the 20. And I want to see something that say 20 something. Okay. I just do for my own personal, because you're looking at like, dang, like, have we done anything since 1990?
And they absolutely have.
Bro, we got like 5-6 opportunities. The women's have made it to the Final Four. Men's have made it, I think, 4 times. So you have 5 banners that we can hang. We're also in the era of participation trophies. Like, look, we can say whatever we want. The reality is we recognize you for finishing second place. Second place is legitimate. Okay, I don't understand why second place was viewed at for so long at UCLA as if we should not acknowledge these guys. But that just tells you how serious the standard. My last thing on that, I could see if we had a ton of like championships outside the Wooden era. We literally have one title since 1975. And we got the nerve to be like, oh, we only hang in championships around here. It's like, how? And then we talk about retired jerseys, right? Shout out to everyone that has their jersey retired in the rafters of Pauley Pavilion. Every last person is more than deserving and is an icon in their own right in the history of UCLA basketball. But the all-time leading scorer in the Pac-10 history, Donnie Mack, does not even get no recognition. Now, his 42 is obviously retired because of Walt Hazard, but we need Don McClain up there. The all-time leading scorer. So things that weren't valued back in the day, who scores the most points and, whatever. I don't understand how that's never been valued. But anyway, but the criteria is this. First team All-American, National Player of the Year, or Naismith Hall of Fame. So you got to be one of those things at UCLA during your time there to be considered or to get your jersey retired. So I understand the criteria. I just think that all the criteria for Final Fours, for championship or for banner hanging in the main arena needs to be looked at, as well as maybe if we can't retire every jersey of every guy that deserved to get his jersey retired, then maybe we can honor the jerseys, sort of like what Coach Cronin had said a couple of years ago, what Louisville does, where you have honored jerseys. It's up in the rafters. I think, if you go to like the Boston Celtics, if you go look in their, this is pro, but if you look in their arena, you see like 500 numbers of dudes, but they're honoring dudes. They're not necessarily retiring it, but just give them just throw them a bone.
Even the Dodgers, you see down the left field line, you see the Dodgers have kind of expanded what it takes to honor. There's so many lifelong players that they're beloved by a generation. Now in college sports, it's a smaller window, 3 to 4, right? Or 4 years for a while. Nowadays, it's 1 to 2 years. But how are you going to honor these guys, that played for 4 years and didn't win a championship and say they win this year? You have guys that probably played 1 to 2 years and put in less to UCLA than those guys who played 4 years like you or anybody else in their career. Well, just because they won a championship and played 1 year, it's a whole debate.
It's a trip. But it kind of speaks to the way things have always kind of been done at UCLA. It was such a high standard that UCLA has always been able to get away with that because of the standard. But with futility, you got to start looking at change, lowering some of those standards. And this is the other thing. Like, why not have remnants of some of the more recent legends in UCLA history? My dad's a legend. I love all the old school legends. I looked up to them people. I know those guys. Like, those guys move me still to this day. If I see somebody right now, I'm going to get chills in my chest. But the reality is there's generations of people that do not recognize any of those guys on a first name basis. It takes old school kind of people like myself that can bridge the gap, or even older, to know, oh, hey, that's Sidney Wicks, just by first name basis when they come back to Pauley. But I'll tell you who they do recognize: a Russell Westbrook, a Kevin Love, a Jaime Jaquez, right? You can go down the list. There's tons of Lonzo Ball. Look, honor these dudes. If you want Pauley packed and you want the fan base to get back to where it used to be, we got to start showing some love to the folks that matter to folks. I'm not that guy. I'm not saying the Wooden Dynasty guys don't matter. It's just the natural evolution of time. It's like UCLA got to get up to speed with the way that the times are. So we got to shout out these young bulls that are doing stuff. And granted, they're all getting shout outs in some way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it be social media or within Pauley Pavilion. But how about in the main arena? Market these dudes where everybody can see on front stage, on the marquee.
And the funny thing is, here, I want you to think about what I'm about to say. UCLA, they had the Monarch champions made here. They had it on the shirts for a while, and that's when they had the most championships in NCAA history. Now they're second to Stanford. And the funny thing is, so they make all this stuff about champions. They're not even the most in NCAA history anymore. 2, you know who's the most apathetic fan base in almost all of college sports?
Who?
Stanford. They have all those championships. They can't even get people to show up sometimes. Do you really want to be Stanford outside of academics? No, you want to be both You really want to be Stanford? You have all these championships that have nobody show up. I feel like that's just as much a loss. All right. Yeah. As much as we make fun of the SEC, of the West Coast, it just means more. It does mean more because they show up. How can we highlight the champions, highlight the successful years, and bridge the gap between champions made here? It's like, well, the most championships were won by the men's volleyball team, or even though they don't always play in Pauley Pavilion, right? Even though I've seen a men's volleyball championship in the Pauley Pavilion, like, how do you honor those teams, be successful, and maintain the elite without being elitist?
Yeah, I mean, again, like with such a rich history in Pauley Pavilion, I got a lot of comments from like gymnastics and volleyball and other sports. Like, and I respect every single sport. I respect every single coach that led their sport to a championship. But I play basketball, so I'm just talking about basketball. Like, that's how I'm looking at it. I'm not thinking about the '95 volleyball champs with Paul Neapoli and all these legends. I'll let Paul campaign to get the '95 volleyball.
It's a huge arena. It's a huge arena filled for plenty of space.
I'm worried about Ben Howland's teams, Mick Cronin's team in 2021, Corey Close's team in 2020. What's last year? 2024.
2024. 2025. 24 to 25.
Look, 2025. That's who I'm laser focused. Like, and when I say focused, like, I'm not doing this to try to, create drama. I'm just pointing out things that seem appropriate and seem kind of timely. We're not in the era of old school. Guys are getting paid now. We're the days of free labor and you guys do what we, all that for free. Like, it's a whole new dynamic. Coach Cronin's even said it. Guys are on 1-year deals, basically. We can try to figure stuff out, try to win a championship. He's on a 1-year deal. So why not, if you have all of these sort of variables in college basketball, why not get back to the sentimental nature of teams that actually accomplish things? Why not get back to that? It brings your fan base closer. I'm telling them, it brings in the younger fans. So if the younger fans have remnants of K-Love, Westbrook, Jaime Jaquez, and whoever else you want to name, Lonzo, whoever, all the ballers from the generation of your favorite times, the 3 Ben Howland Final Fours, Collison, Mbamute, Farmar, like, them guys need some love. Like, because it was such a UCLA championships, and I know keep going on, but championships, when you win a basketball championship at UCLA, if you were a student or if you're a fan, you remember where you were when they won that title. You remember how that felt. You remember how incredible the city of Los Angeles was during that championship. I was on a doggone Disneyland float, going to see the president, hanging out with Jay Leno. Like, it was taking pictures with Tommy Lasorda and the Dodgers on the field. Like, it was like the biggest dream of all time. And like, so it's like I can't imagine what the Wooden era people must have went through. So when they get to come in every single time they go to Pauley, for the ones that are still with us, and they see all those championships, you know how much pride they beam with? Do you know how much like joy that must bring them? Now, so what are we teaching? You got a great hat tip from a Twitter account about John Wooden's definition of success, right? John Wooden talked about doing your best when your best is asked of you. How parents are, basically a gist of it is like, we got to redefine our definition of success.
We're not even defining success as a program by John Wooden's standard, as we're trying to define it by our standards of John Wooden, which is not his standard of success.
Bingo. There it is. Zach, that's the whole bottom line about all this. Coach Wooden never said don't hang the banners from the number guys that didn't win a championship. He basically said we need to honor, if you achieve something, you need to be honored for it. But anyway, I just feel like, man, there's so many teams in the rich history of UCLA that deserve some recognition. Especially, I understand if people don't want Elite Eight, Sweet 16, I get it. But Final Four teams, like, hang the banners, bro.
Yeah, Final Fours. There's got to be ways to honor players of teams that were really fun to watch, like Alonzo Ball, that didn't make it as far, but they were really fun and packed out Pauley more so than some of the better teams in recent years. And you have to get something up there for the women's team because they made a Final Four, most 100%. Likely to, and most likely another one this year. Like, you can't just go. That's the first time in the NCAA era. Like, it has to be.
Like, why aren't we hanging it? Why isn't there a ceremony for the women to raise their Final Four banner? Like, why not? I just don't understand this concept of like, oh, you didn't win a championship, so you suck. Like, what? We don't live in that world no more. There's not that absolute no more. It's, oh no, you were actually pretty good. So
like, you had to win a region to get to the final. You had to win so much to get there.
Man, I just want people to get their just due. You know how hard it is to get to a Final Four in this era? Coach Close, wow. Coach Cronin, they taking us to Final Fours in the 2020s, in the hardest era, arguably, of basketball because of everything that's involved. We have gotten to a Final Four this decade, and there's no sign of that in the main arena, Pauley Pavilion.
We got to change that. We got to change that real quick. But those are the wise words of Chris Johnson, who types and writes wise words on those 4 letters. He speaks them on this podcast once a week. And, of course, you got to check him out with his dad on Here District. Go check out his Twitter accounts, his X accounts, whatever you call it. Chris Johnson, 1995 champ, bringing it home and bringing it home for the recent modern success of UCLA basketball. I appreciate you as always, partner.
Appreciate you, Zach.
All right, and we're going to do this again. It's time. It's time. You got the hands up?
No, but I can.
All right, he's ready. Eight clap time, baby. And real quick, before we start, UCLA football wins or loses this week versus Utah.
Bruh, please. You know what I'm on. I'm on 9-3 for the season, and Utah is not one of those L's, dog.
Let's go. All right, 8 clap time. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA fights. This has been Locked On UCLA. For Chris Johnson, I'm Zach Anderson. Yoxheimer, thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. This has been Locked On UCLA. Go Bruins.
My guy.